So welcome everyone to our new course. It's called The Pearls of Practical Philosophy. And we're taking one of the texts that is studied here at the Vedanta Academy, but is also studied in the e-learning course, which quite a few of you are doing. And in the e-learning course, it's the fourth text. So it's pretty far along, but for those of you who are new, and there are quite a few new faces that I can see, for those of you who are new, you won't have any trouble following because it's based on select English poems. And the person who's compiled it is my mentor and teacher, Swami Parthasarathi. And from 200 English poems. So Swamiji was a student of literature. He studied both in India and in London. And from 200 poems, he selected the 20 pieces that we're going to be studying over 2 courses through the first half of this year. So for these 5 Sundays, we've got a real treat in store because in each of these poems, it's simple. It's almost like a childish story, something that you would tell as a bedtime story before putting your small one to bed. And the beauty is, though it looks so innocuous, so simple, the value and the message therein is profound. And today we're going to get a taste of it. But the question, firstly, is why are we studying poetry? So those of you who have attended the previous courses, you know that the subject of the philosophy is called Vedanta. And Vedanta is an ancient Indian philosophy that was unearthed, discovered, researched, put together by the ancient rishis of the Himalayas. But what is Vedanta? Vedanta is nothing but truths of life. It is not limited to any text. So there is no author of Vedanta. So other philosophies, other religions, they have an author. But Vedanta, you take away any author and it still stands because it's based on a beautiful term called Sanatana Dharma. Does anyone know what that means? It's Sanskrit.
The eternal truths.
Eternal truths. Yes. So Sanatana means eternal, and I'll put it up on the screen for you. It's a lovely phrase. And for those of you who have not familiar with Sanskrit and they ask you, what did you learn from your first session, Pearls of Practical Philosophy? You can say, oh, I learned Sanatana Dharma. You can show off a little bit of Sanskrit. Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means essence, principles. So this philosophy is based on laws of life and living. So that which applied 5,000 years ago is as applicable today. Just as gravity was as applicable hundreds of years ago as it is today, it doesn't change. The only thing different with Vedanta is it's about the laws and principles of the individual and life. So you can find it in different texts. In the previous course, we studied an 8th century text called Bhajagovindam. You remember, Nidhi? Daniela, not too long ago? We completed the study in December. What a text, Bhajagovindam. And it essentially was a poem. It was written in verse and so enchanting. So there are these great works throughout history that give a beautiful message, a theme for us to use and apply in life. So that can be found anywhere. It can be found in English literature. It can be found in movies. It can be found in, we're going to be quoting a few authors from different parts of the world, some great Persian poets. Wherever there's truth, that is Vedanta. Swami Ramatirtha, the great truth bearer of India. He was he was a contemporary of Swami Vivekananda, but yet very few people know of the great Swami Ramatirtha because he died at the age of 32. Absolutely brilliant. And he says, what is Vedanta? And he describes it like this. Vedanta brings you a philosophy that is found in the streets. It's written upon the leaves, it's murmured in the brooks. It is a philosophy which is throbbing in your veins and arteries, which concerns your business and your bosom. A philosophy to practice and live in your everyday life, about your home, your dining room, everywhere. You will have to live that philosophy. So for those of you who get a chance to come to the academy, you'll find we study the Upanishads, so the original texts. We study other texts which have great truths, great messages, the Bhagavad Gita, Bhajagovindam, these 20 English works from different periods. We also watch movies, adaptations of Shakespeare and Charles Dickens, anything where there's education. The beauty of poetry or literature is it has two aspects in it. It has the packaging, it's got the words, and the words are so enchanting. So you'll find when you say it, it's so memorable, and you get caught up just in the diction, in the rhyme of it. Rabindranath Tagore says, that I want thee, only thee, let my heart repeat without end. All desires that distract me day and night are false and empty to the core. He's talking about God, not a lover. But the passion in the rhyme, in the rhythm. William Cowper, they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. Do you remember Bhajagovindam? How enchanting it was? Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam, Govindam, Bhajamudamate. I remember when we were chanting it during our course, Nidhi's daughter came because she enjoys the chant so much. So the words are enchanting. The diction is so enchanting. It attracts you. Now, some get caught up in the words and they lose sight of the true essence of the study, which is the philosophy. The philosophy or the message embedded in the words, in the verse. So there's the packaging, and then there's the real product. You find some Belgian and Swiss chocolates. The packaging is exquisite. And sometimes, if you present a gift or you receive a gift of beautiful chocolates, a box of Ferrero Rocher, or what is the one, Lily, that we enjoy? Laderac. If you get presented with Laderac chocolates, the box is so enticing. Some people say, look, you have the chocolate, can I have the box? So we must be careful that when we get into the study, yes, the words are beautiful, they're enchanting, but we must get the message therein and use it in our lives. So this course is called Pearls. So Pearls is the poem. The practical philosophy is what we're looking for. So there is no point you and me becoming English professors after this course, but we must use it and live by it, improve our lives with it. And that's going to be the theme of these sessions. The life values and the education behind the poetry, behind the literature. So we start with the first poem, The Turkey and the Ant by John Gay. The Turkey and the Ant, a simple story. Just to give you a background of the story. There was a turkey who lived in a barn And as you can imagine, in a barn, plentiful supply of grain. And the turkey would feast on the grain that was there. Enough, more than enough grain for its lifetime to feed its young ones, its chicks. But the turkey thought, every day having the same grain, boring. Variety is the spice of life. Let's try something new. So it told its chicks, follow me. Let's go up the hill. And it exits the barn and goes looking. And as it starts moving up the hill, it finds an army of ants and starts devouring the ants and encourages her young ones to do the same. And while she's enjoying this new delicacy, black ants, Turkey's caviar, enjoying it, she's thinking, what a life. Look at us, enjoying these black ants. Everything would be perfect, but on Christmas, man eats turkeys. And if it wasn't for Christmas, when all our days are numbered, what a life it would be. Man is so greedy. She's saying this as she's devouring all the ants. And one of the ants, who climbs beyond her reach before she could be eaten up, says to the turkey, hey, hold on, you are criticizing man. What about you? And the last few lines of the poem are in italics. So when we go through the poems, and it's been shared with you on WhatsApp on the group, and I'll also share with you for your revision, and we'll also put it in the chat. So you can download it from the chat if you'd like to follow along or make notes. The last few lines that are in italics are the ones to grapple to, because that's the message. And it's, you remark another sin, bid thine own conscience look within. It means before you criticize another, look at yourself. So this is the story. Now, from this simple story, from the poem, we're going to learn two qualities of the mind today. But in order to understand these two qualities, we need some background. So just to ensure that we're all on the same page. So there's quite a few of us here today, but about 30 to 40% are new. So just to make sure we're all on the same track, let's begin with a study of you. You, every human being, is made up of three equipments. BMI, not body mass index. That most people know. BMI as in body, mind, and intellect. I'll put it up for you. The body is that which performs actions. But the body is just a vehicle. What we're interested in is who is performing the actions, who is driving the body to act, who's deciding and executing every single action. And as a human being, we have a choice. Animals do not have this choice. They have to go by a pre-programmed instincts. Their choices are already determined. But as a human being, we have the capacity called the intellect to pause and decide whether to act on the mind's impulses, the mind's instincts, feelings, likes and dislikes, desires, or on your intellect's reasoning, thinking, judging, deciding. It is the intellect that makes a human being the master of creation. A masterpiece. What design? See, if we look at how nature has been designed, we find that plants and animals, they're all taken care of by nature. They know exactly how much water to absorb, how much sunlight to take in, how much food to process. Everything's in perfect quantity. If you watch the Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, you'll find each one of those animals is slim and trim. You won't find an obese buffalo. They're all slim and trim. Their mating habits are disciplined. Their eating habits are disciplined. But when it comes to human beings, find me one person that has that discipline. Every aspect is taken care of, even just physically. Either we're a little overweight, a little underweight, and if we have a good body, then there's head weight. We're egoistic about it. Where do we find the discipline? It's almost as if nature is taking care of the rest of the living kingdoms. But with human beings, it seems to have neglected. Not so. Nature has provided human beings the intellect as its strength to survive. Just as the cheetah has speed for its survival, a human being has an intellect to make choices. The problem is, we don't even know the difference between mind and intellect. Now, for those of you, so for instance, Leila, she's a PhD in Vedanta now. She says, I know mind and intellect. You do not know mind and intellect, because mind and intellect is the beginning and the end of the spiritual path. There are so many nuances in this relationship between our thoughts, between our mind, which is beautiful. It's got all the emotions, but it's dangerous and it's volatile as well. So we need the intellect just to govern it, give it a direction. But the problem is, if we don't know the difference, we don't know if our mind is pushing us into action without any direction, or the intellect is doing it through analysis and reason. We don't know. Once you get familiar with the terms, you're able to articulate what's happening with your thoughts. That's awareness. But awareness doesn't mean you have control over your mind's impulses and desires. And that's where we get into trouble. So in this session, or from this poem, we're going to learn two qualities of the mind. How troublesome it can be without intellectual governance. And the idea of the poem, or the message that the poet gives, is the importance of developing the intellect to not be victim of these two qualities of the mind. Are we okay? Are we okay so far? So this is the introduction to the course. Are we ready to plunge into a study of English poetry? Are we okay? Everyone all right? You can give a thumbs up or nod your head. All right, great. Okay. The turkey and the ant. A turkey tired of common food forsook the barn and sought the wood. Behind her ran her infant train, collecting here and there a grain. So the turkey was bored of grain. She said, let's eat outside. I believe there's a new restaurant. Let's exit the barn and find out. So she tells her chicks to follow her. Draw near, my birds, the mother cries. This hill delicious fare supplies. Behold the busy Negro race. See millions blacken all the place. Fear not, like me, with freedom eat. An ant is most delightful meat. So she's enjoying the ants. And while she's enjoying the ants, the thought comes, but everything's fine, but how blessed, how envied were our life, could we but scape the poulterer's knife. So the butcher, the poulterer. But man, cursed man on turkey preys, and Christmas shortens all our days. Sometimes with oysters we combine, sometimes assist the savory chine. So the different dishes the turkey is served with at Christmas. From the low peasant to the lord, the turkey smokes on every board. Sure, men for gluttony are cursed. Of the 7 deadly sins, the worst. So it's referring to the biblical 7 sins. Lechery, greed. Greed is gluttony. It says, of the 7 deadly sins, gluttony is the worst. An ant who climbed beyond her reach, thus answered from the neighboring beach. And here it is. Here's the message. Ere you remark another's sin, bid thy own conscience look within. Control thy more voracious bill, nor for a breakfast nations kill. So the ant, the brave ant, says to the turkey, hey, before you criticize man, you're having for breakfast a nation. What is the message of the poem, friends? Yes, Nidhi.
It's easy to find faults with the others, but we cannot really figure out what's our own problem, like what wrong we are doing.
Excellent. Yes. What else? Any other points?
We hear this term very often, being an hypocrite. And basically, that is what the turkey is, being an hypocrite. You know, telling the ants, we are telling that we could eat all of these things, but forgetting that he's also going to get eaten as well.
Correct. We're being hypocritical, not realizing it. So you've covered the two, well, you've covered the main theme of the poem, but there's one more aspect there. And I'll put it up for you. Yes, sorry.
The desires.
Sorry?
Desires are insatiable.
Desires are insatiable. Yes. So the 2 qualities of the mind that we're going to cover today is the first, and I'll put it up for you. The first is the insatiable nature of the mind. Insatiable means it just can't be satisfied. It can't be quenched. This is the nature of the mind. And the second one is the mind's tendency to look outside rather than inside, to look at others' faults instead of our own faults. So keep this in mind. These are the 2 themes we're going to cover today. So let's start with the first one, the insatiable nature of the mind. Everyone's mind, every human mind is the same. It is like fire. Fire in the sense, it doesn't matter how much you feed fire. You can put log after log after log. It will consume the log and want more. Similarly with the mind. So we see this with the turkey. The turkey's got more than enough to live a content and happy life. It's got so much of grain. It's not poor that way. But the mind goes, look, I've got grain. I want something else. And what is that something else? Variety. The black ants. Then it gets the variety. It's enjoying the black ants. And in the enjoyment itself of that next desire, the thought comes, what next? And what does the turkey desire next? Security. It wants security because man kills turkeys on Christmas. Suppose we were to change that. No more turkeys for Christmas. Would the turkey be happy? No, it would find something else. And this is the idea to digest. There is nothing external that can give us satisfaction. Whatever you feed to the mind, whatever desire that you fulfill externally, you will not be satisfied. You may enjoy it for a little while, for some time, but the nature of the mind is to go, what next? Oscar Wilde says, there are 2 tragedies in life. The first is not getting what you want. The second, getting what you want. There are only two tragedies in life. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. Why is it a tragedy when you get it? Because when you get it, you realize how much stress I went through, how much effort I went through, thinking that I will be happy on fulfillment of that desire. Now, what are these desires for us? Remember, we've got to internalize what's being said here. What are our desires? It could be a promotion. Claudio, it could be a new house, getting the new house ready, renovating it, preparing it. It could be a move to a new country. It could be sorting out family affairs. You sort it out and you really think, if I just finish this, I'll be happy. It doesn't end. Because you keep on thinking, if I get this, I'll be happy. And when you get that happiness eludes you. I'm not saying we don't enjoy it for some time, but it's so short-lived before the mind goes next. So the teenager thinks, when I finish school, I'll be free. But the person who's graduated from school, when I get a job, I'll be free. When I move out of home, I'll be happy. When I get a partner, I'll be happy. I'll settle down. And those of you who are married know that it is not always very settling. You get unsettled. And you say, okay, then we need to put a child in the mix to make us happy. How is it? You weren't happy alone. You weren't happy with another person. Bring a third person into the equation to bring happiness to you. It's not the child's fault. It's not the spouse's fault. It is not the job's fault. It's not the school's fault. The problem is in the nature of your mind. It will not be content with anything external. Probably the richest man in modern history is John D. Rockefeller. And he was a billionaire in the 19th century. And someone asked him, Mr. Rockefeller, how much money is enough? To which he replied, a little bit more. How much money is enough money? Just a little bit more. We have seen people who worked and worked, and you've got to find examples that you can relate to. We have so many in our own life. How much stress we go through to fulfill a particular desire. People run campaigns to become president, and perhaps they fail. Perhaps they achieve it third time round. And when they achieve it, is it nirvana? Is it enlightenment? Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, I could burst. The problem comes a few months down the line. Oh, what about the next term? Okay, you win the next term as well. But the Constitution only says I can run for 2 terms. Okay, change the Constitution. Now, I'm not saying that's negative. I'm saying the person genuinely believes happiness is in that next step, is in the fulfillment of that desire. And the disappointment and illusionment that comes with it is heartbreaking. It's not there. And if we can learn this lesson early, that no external fulfillment of a desire can give us lasting satisfaction, we will be able to give our desires not a black market value, but their real value. So in this session today, we're not saying don't have desires. What are we saying? In the scriptures, there is the Indian epic called the Ramayana. And you might have heard of the great hero called Lord Rama. He was an archer. Everywhere he went, he will carry the bow and arrow. So even if you see a wedding photo of his, wedding photo, he's got bow and arrow with him. Bow, arrow, wife, Sita. And Lord Rama's wife, Sita, was said to have been extremely beautiful. Now, the villain, the antagonist in the epic, is Ravana. Ravana himself was a king, extremely powerful. And the way they depict his power is they would say that people would take appointments to meet him. Who? The Lord of all the gods, Lord Indra, and the god of wealth, Kubera. They would be waiting outside. They would come to meet him. He's having a nap. They said, no, don't disturb him. We'll wait for him. That was his power. And in terms of pleasures, he would have a harem of not all the Miss of all the different countries, Miss Switzerland, Miss South Africa, Miss Indonesia. He would have not even Miss Universe. He would have damsels from heaven in his harem. All these pleasures. But when he saw Sita, Lord Rama's consort, his mind went one more. I want her also. And he kidnaps Sita. And the story goes, Lord Rama comes to rescue her and kills her. This is the story. Why? Would he have been content even if he had Sita? Even if Sita said, look, I would like to be with you. He would not be content. The idea here, or the way to understand this quality of the mind, is my mind will not be satisfied with anything. If I get a bigger house, it won't be more happy. If I get another partner, it won't make me more happy. Does that mean you should not have a bigger house? You should not have a nicer partner? You should not get for the promotion or increase your revenue? Not at all. The only thing to understand is that there will be no happiness that results from it. You might enjoy it for some time, but it will not fulfill you. And yet, where are we spending most of our time and energy on these pursuits? Where are we getting stressed? Why are we getting stressed in work, in trying to earn, to acquire more? Because we genuinely believe to bring up a family. Why are we so stressed about it? Because we think if we get it and we do it, we'll be happy. Let's understand now. It's not there. The only thing that changes is you become detached to that desire. You're not craving for it. You're not obsessed about it. And because you're not craving, because you're not obsessed, you're peaceful. And because you're peaceful, you're actually able to achieve it better. So for instance, as you know, one of the tennis players is desperately trying to play in the upcoming Australian Open. What must be the desire to win that competition? Well, first to compete and then to win the competition. The only question, or where the philosophy would come in, is to ask that sports person, do you understand that that victory, even if you win, will not give you lasting happiness? You'll be thinking about the next tournament just 1 week, 2 weeks later. If he understands that, he's a philosopher. It's fine. Then he can go. And whether he wins or loses, he'll be okay. But it does not mean that you compromise your effort. It does not mean that you compromise your ambition. You're just never stressed about it. So an extremely powerful theme from this. We understand that the nature of the mind is insatiable. So what do we do with this understanding? The first is, we would be careful, if we understand this correctly, which desires we entertain. Because if we pick up more and more desires, the problem with the desire is, does anyone know the definition of stress or agitation?
Fulfill desires.
Unfulfilled desire. Then what is the definition of pleasure?
Fulfill desires.
Fulfilled desires. If you get what you want, smiling. You don't get what you want, frowning. If you really want something and you don't get it, stressed, agitated. And to the extent that you want it, the desire is so strong and it's obstructed, more stressed, more agitated. Now that is one desire. How many desires we have? We have a desire for COVID to leave us. We have a desire to get back to normal. We have a desire to travel freely. We have a desire for the business. We have a desire for the children to be brought up in a particular way, the grandchildren, to spend time with the grandchildren to want to see us. We have so many desires. If we understand the nature of the mind, we will be careful which desires we entertain, because the more and more desires that we have unfulfilled, the more stress, tension we have. How does this manifest? Probably the easiest way to see it is, how long does it take you to fall off to sleep? When you put your head down on the pillow, you can, and it's possible, to fall off to sleep in 20 seconds. But if you have all these unfulfilled desires in the background of your mind, chattering and agitated, it will not be 20 seconds. So this is one manifestation of this. So have a look at our desires that we're entertaining at the moment and see which ones we need, and maybe at present, which ones we can't afford. So if we don't need it and we can't afford it at the moment, what is it doing there? Park it, leave it aside. You can revisit it later. So it's like closing space on your computer. You've got different apps that are open in your computer. They're taking up processing speed. They're slowing down your performance. Same thing with your mind. Just shut down the desires that you think are not necessary now. And then how do we counter this mind's craving, this mind's dissatisfaction? And this is where gratitude comes in. The mind's tendency is to look above at what others have that we don't have. And we make ourselves miserable, inferior, insufficient. Instead of that, let's bring in the intellect and say, hey, mind, why are you making yourself miserable? Look at what you do have and just turn it around. See what you do have at this present moment. I've got two hands that work. I've got two legs. I can run. I injured my toe in football this morning. I'm appreciating my other toes at the moment. It's how you look at it. Socrates says, he who is not contented with what he has will not find contentment anywhere. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. This is exactly what we're talking about today, the nature of the mind. So the art of happiness or the art of finding contentment is to find it in the now, because no future achievement, no future external acquisition is going to give you present happiness. So therefore, let us not make that mistake of pitching or pegging or making ourselves dependent on something in the future to give us happiness. We have to learn how to find it now. You find people speaking about the value of gratitude, and this is the psychology behind it. When we think of what we have, when we understand all that we're provided with, the mind is calm. It's not craving, it's not rushing, it looks at what you do have. Does that make you complacent? Does that make you lazy? Not at all. And this is where we have to separate work from desire. Work for work's sake. Work because that's what you're designed to do. Why do we have to put motives to it? So be contented with what you have now and then aspire for more. Don't relate the two. So let me be happy with my present income, with my present circumstances. But if I earn more, great. And one more way to quieten this mind of ours is the way to fulfill desires is not through indulgence. If it was the case, those who are wealthy and indulgent would be extremely happy. We don't find that. We find sometimes that the wealthier a nation or a person becomes, the more problems that are created. If we look at the history of lottery winners, those who come across fortunes, they don't know how to handle wealth. We find families that were poor and became wealthy. They went from being extremely tightly knit to infighting. The problem is not with the wealth. It's the attitude or the relationship to wealth. So the way to approach desire is not by indulging in every desire. It is in pitching up a higher goal. So when you pitch up a higher goal, your interest becomes for that ideal or that aspiration. So what does that mean? The lower desires, they don't matter as much. I'll give you some examples. Some of the students, I say, including myself, have come from pampered backgrounds, very comfortable backgrounds. And when we come to join the 3-year course here at the academy, suddenly we have to make our own bed, wash our clothes. We don't get to choose the menu. Ironing. What is ironing? All these things taken for granted. Didn't realize all these amenities and facilities that were available. Yet there will not be a complaint. Why? Because the student who comes is fired with the ideal of, I need to gain this knowledge of life. The same thing for some of you who have studied overseas. You've left the comforts of your home. You're so fired by achieving that degree or that education, you don't mind the discomforts that you have to go through. You're not getting mom's home cooked meals. It's okay. Because you have that idea, the other desires dissolve in the background. You're not worried what temperature the air conditioner is set at. You're not worried how much salt is in the food. Why? Because you have an ideal. Now let's work the converse. If you are concerned about all the smallest of your desires being satisfied, check. Do you have a higher ideal that you're working for? So you find those who are unemployed, those who are not fired by an ideal, will complain and grumble about the smallest of things. What is our higher ideal? We've seen during this COVID time, the medical community. Incredible. They sometimes have to be separated from their families. They have to live in different places, sometimes more than 24-hour shifts, the risk of contracting COVID themselves. Incredible. And it makes you think, what is firing them to do all that? Service. In time of need, this is my chance to serve. So that ideal inspires them, that the other desires dissolve in the background. So these are ways the intellect can manage the mind to not make us unfulfilled, dissatisfied. This is the first quality. And Einstein, he summarizes it beautifully. He says, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. And we're going to cover it a little bit later. People, other people, every person has a mind. So you can't satisfy anybody fully because their mind would also want more. So unless they're exposed to this education or these life values, they will never feel what you're giving is enough. The second theme is criticism. The turkey is criticizing man. How many, on Christmas, how many people would eat one turkey? What would you say? I'm not familiar. Would anyone like to approximate?
5 to 8.
5 to 8? Anyone else?
None.
Sorry? Let's go with 5 people. 2 to 3, says Raghu. That's a very small turkey. That's a chicken. One turkey, okay, we can say, let's say 5 to 10 people. Even if we go on the lower side, 5 people. So one turkey is eaten at Christmas to fulfill 5 people. That means one turkey is consumed by one person every 5 years. Right? If one turkey is consumed by 5 people, one person would consume one turkey over 5 years, 5 Christmases. What is the turkey doing? The turkey is eating a nation of ants for breakfast. How many ants do you think the turkey would have had for that breakfast? Don't know. Hundreds, 1,000. The turkey is eating 1,000 ants for one meal. It could have it breakfast, lunch, dinner. It could have his breakfast, lunch, dinner for 7 days of the week for the whole year. What is the extent of what the turkey is doing compared to what it criticizes man for? So the turkey's fault is hundreds of times more exaggerated, more than the fault of man that it criticizes as gluttony. And yet the turkey doesn't see what she's doing. The idea here is that when we criticize others, we may have the same fault in ourselves 10 times more. We don't see it. And why don't we see it? We don't see it because this is another quality of the mind. It's extrovert. It's looking at others, is looking outside rather than its own quality. We might accuse others of being harsh or not compassionate. We might be guilty of it. We might criticize others for not being punctual or disciplined. And we find as parents, we're very liberal in our criticism. We call it constructive. Do we look at whether we have those faults? Are we free from them? So what are the lessons to learn from this quality of the mind? The first is, when we criticize others, we may miss our own weaknesses, which might be more than the person we're criticizing for. Interestingly, why do we criticize another person? You find those who have grown to another level will not criticize that person. There is understanding for that person's behavior. But we criticize or we get judgmental and upset by another person behaving a particular way, often because we have that value or fault in ourselves. As the saying goes, what Peter says of Paul says more about Peter than of Paul. What you say about others says more about yourself than who you are, than them. So if you're pointing your finger and you're saying, don't do this, don't do this, the idea is, hey, there are three fingers pointing back at you. This poem is following the message of the ant. It's saying, when that impulse comes to criticize others, pause. Introspect. You remark another sin. Means before. Before you criticize another, bid thine own conscience look within. Am I free from this fault? Am I perfect? Check. Because it is a clue to our blind spots. We may not see it, but when we're about to criticize, let's use that opportunity to introspect. Wait, hold on. Before I say anything, let me check. Do I have that quality? The very fact that you ask yourself that question activates the intellect to have a look at your personality. And when the intellect is not activated, it's not even aware of our faults. You know what that pause does? That pause does more than just introspect and help you find your own weaknesses. It gives you the space to empathize with others. Because when you start looking at yourself and you see that I'm also a flawed person, I have weaknesses, I have things that I would like to improve about myself that I'm not following yet. How can I expect another person to live according to what I think is right when I'm not able to live to what my standard is? So instead of there being a harshness or an antagonism, there is a sympathy. There is an empathy. And you realize every person has their own battle and battlefield going on. Every person, without exception. Why? Because every human being has a mind. And they have to tackle that mind. If they are doing a great job, and you can't go by superficial appearance, it's what's happening behind the closed doors. It's what's happening when that person is alone. What is the state of their mind and intellect? If that person is truly happy, content, there has been training, there has been thinking, there has been reflection on these truths of life. It need not be one of the texts we've studied. They may have come to the truths independently, but it's not easy. So let us try and empathize with others. Connect instead of correct. And if the occasion or you have an obligation to intervene, to correct, if you come from a standpoint of connecting, a standpoint from empathy, your mind will be at peace because you're not upset. You're not judgmental about it. You'll be able to reach out to that person and be more effective in your suggestion. But keep in mind, when you have faults to work on, what are you doing correcting the world? Work on yourself. If a person is receptive, by all means, share what knowledge you gain. But the principle of knowledge is taken. It is not given. The other person must take it from you. It means they must be receptive. They must ask, not literally, dear sir, I wish to take some information from you. It means don't give knowledge, don't thrust it on others. As well intended as you are, check if the other person's receptive. The other point about our attention being external is how much time and energy do we spend trying to correct others that we could use to correct ourselves? One of the qualities of a spiritual seeker is, in Sanskrit, it's called tapaha, tapas. It means austerity. And austerity means conserving your energy, not allowing it to be filtered away in unproductive avenues, and directing to your goal, your ideal. So it encompasses three: conservation, no wastage, and direction towards the higher. When we are trying to correct others, when we are criticizing others, that energy could be used to correct yourself. If each one takes care of themselves, the whole world will be taken care of. Work on yourself. Improve yourself. Use that time and energy to go within. Why is it unproductive? It is unproductive because, firstly, you cannot change or correct another person. They have to do it themselves. And secondly, if they haven't asked for it, it will not work. So unless the children or our followers or team members want our guidance, it will not be effective otherwise. The other way of looking at it is, if my mind is extrovert, other people's mind are extrovert too. So they will be criticizing me naturally. So just as we have a tendency to criticize others, others will criticize you. Now here's where the knowledge gives you that understanding. It is the nature of the mind. Don't expect people to be mature and keep their opinions to themselves. But instead of getting defensive, instead of getting upset, look at it from this angle. One, they're extrovert. Sympathize. If there is anything constructive, use it. If it's not constructive, leave it. So what are the lessons that we learned today? And the second aspect, the mind's tendency is to be extrovert. How do we change directions? Turn it introvert. Look at our weaknesses. Look at our reactions. Work on that. And as soon as you do that, there is a power. The mind is extrovert because there is an instant joy. You get a dark pleasure from criticizing another. It puts them down, it puts you up. You get an egoistic pleasure from it. It's also less effort. It's easy to see things wrong outside. It's difficult to see them inside. But if you put in that effort and you just change direction, there is peace, and you get power from taking responsibility for the situation and for the reaction. One gentleman who met Swamiji recently, he said, Swamiji, I'm inspired by the subject. How do I take this to the world? How do I serve the world? To which Swamiji answered, serve yourself. Raise yourself. The whole world will be lifted. But you want to correct. Nobody will follow. Raise yourself. People will come. They will take from you. Therefore, there are two qualities of the mind that we learned about today. First one is, it's insatiable. The second one is, it's extrovert. There's a tendency to criticize others. We need to develop the intellect to manage this mind, to not allow our desires to consume us, to victimize us, to not spend unnecessary time and effort trying to correct others who don't want our correction. Let us use it to work on being content where we are, with what we have in this moment. But to reach that state requires a strong intellect. Therefore, develop the intellect. And over the next few sessions, we'll get into more of an understanding of the mind and how to develop the intellect. So stay tuned, to be continued. The next session is Reason and Faith, next Sunday. And the poems we'll be studying are called The Pond and The Olive Tree.